this tastes exactly like my daughter's. On a cold winter evening, at a bus stop, an elderly woman stood trembling before a humble roasted, sweet potato cart. One bite brought tears streaming down her face. The young vendor smiled warmly, unaware that this billionaire grandmother had just tasted something she'd been searching for 15 years. Behind his simple cart lay a secret that would reunite a broken family and bring justice to those who preyed on the powerless. This is a story of how one sweet potato changed everything. Before we begin, please hit that subscribe button and drop a comment letting us know where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining us today on Heavenly Life. My name is Jake Morrison. I'm 32 years old, and that day, like every other day, when 5 o'clock rolled around, I opened the door to my rundown storage container. Inside, tucked in the corner, sat my cart. The old metal drum still held the sweet potatoes I'd roasted earlier, barely warm now, but still breathing heat. I brushed the ash off my hands, and blew out a long breath into the cold air. White steam puffed out, and disappeared into nothing. Pushing that cart out was the same routine every day, but somehow it felt like a brand new battle. Each time every bump in the road made the drum rattle, and I'd whisper under my breath, please don't let any fall. Setting up at the bus stop was always a delicate operation. I had to stay under the radar of Frank, the property manager, too close to the storefronts, and I'd hear, you can't set up here, this is private property, too far back, and customers wouldn't even notice me. Somewhere in that middle ground, that's where I belonged. I made my rounds, greeting the other street vendors. Hey there, good to see you, hope we all do well tonight. Oh, Jake, you're here a bit early today, aren't you? Mrs. Kim, who sold fish-shaped pastries, smiled as she spoke. I remembered when I first started with this cart, shame hit me first. I dropped out of culinary school, and the memories kept flooding back. Instead of wearing a crisp white chef's coat, here I was in a thick winter jacket, selling sweet potatoes on the street. But I didn't have a choice. Mom's medical bills didn't wait for anyone, and my factory wages barely made a dent. I pulled out my phone, and looked at the photo I'd saved. Mom, lying in her nursing home bed, forcing a smile for the camera. Hang in there, Mom, I'm doing my best today too, I muttered to myself, and got the fire going in the drum. As I lined up the sweet potatoes one by one, the warmth on my fingertips felt like comfort. The sun had completely set, and the yellow glow from the bus stop lights spread across everything. That's when my first customers showed up, 2 elementary school kids clutching coins in their small hands. Mister, can we get $3 worth? Their voices were sweet and small. I picked out the best roasted potatoes, and wrapped them carefully in newspaper. Then, I added 1 extra small potato on top. This one's on the house, share it on your way home. Their faces lit up like sunshine. Wow, thank you so much. Watching them skip away, I finally felt like I'd found the strength to get through another day. The wind grew fiercer, people walking by pulled their scarves tighter, pressed their hats down, and rushed past, without looking. Hot sweet potatoes here, fresh and warm. My voice was quiet, but I tried my best to sound cheerful. Most people didn't even turn their heads. Some waved me off, like I was bothering them. Others acted like I didn't exist at all, but that was okay. This was my job, and this was how I paid Mom's bills. About an hour passed. A middle-aged man, in a business suit, walked up. He looked at my cart, and his face twisted into a scowl. "I told you not to set up here." It was Frank, the property manager. My heart dropped. "I'm sorry, sir, just a little longer. I'll be gone by closing time every day. It's just a little longer. Move it now." Frank kicked the side of my cart, the drum shook and a sweet potato fell to the ground. I threw myself in front of the cart to protect it. "Please, sir, I really mean it, just today." My voice stayed low, but my knuckles turned white from gripping the handle so hard. People around us stopped and stared, but nobody stepped in. They just watched, and then looked away. Frank sneered, and walked off. "Next time, I'm calling enforcement." Remember that? Once he was gone, I picked up the fallen sweet potato dirt, smudged the skin, and the flesh was scraped. Looking at it felt like looking at myself, but I couldn't give up. Mom was waiting for me. I stood back in front of my cart. "Hot sweet potatoes here, fresh and warm." My voice shook a little, but I kept going. That's how another day passed. That day, Mrs. Eleanor Thompson stopped her driver from opening the car door. "I'm fine, Tom, I'll walk today." The driver looked confused, but she'd already zipped up her black puffer coat and stepped out. At 74, her back was still straight, her step still firm. The old neighborhood, where she'd once pushed her own food cart, had mostly disappeared. Strip malls and franchise coffee shops had taken over, but one thing stayed the same: that smell of roasting sweet potatoes, hanging in the winter air. Following that scent like a thread, she walked slowly toward the bus stop. There, she spotted a small cart. A young man was organizing his sweet potatoes. They'd never met before, but something familiar passed between them. "Can I get one of those sweet potatoes?" Her voice was rough, but the young man smiled warmly. "Yes ma'am, I'll get you a nice hot one, fresh off the grill." He carefully selected the best one, and held it out the way. She split the potato in half, the way he wrapped it in newspaper. Their movements almost mirrored each other, like they'd been doing this together for years. She took a bite. Time seemed to stop. The golden flesh inside, the thin crispy skin, sweet but with a clean finish, that exact taste, as the flavor spread through her mouth. An old kitchen scene layered over her vision years ago, handing a sweet potato to her 10-year-old daughter. "Be careful, sweetheart, it's hot, eat it slowly." Her daughter laughing, reaching for the potato with both hands. Mrs. Thompson's eyes trembled, her hands shook slightly. Then, the words just came out: "This tastes exactly like my daughter's." The young man looked puzzled. "Your daughter must have really loved sweet potatoes, ma'am." She nodded, but couldn't find more words. Her throat had closed up. 15 years ago, her daughter had stormed out of the house. "All you care about is money, Mom." Her daughter's voice still echoed in her ears. "You never cared about me, only your business." Mrs. Thompson had stood there, speechless, building the company, keeping it alive, working nonstop through those years. Now it all felt like regret washing over her. "Ma'am, you okay?" The young man's concerned voice brought her back. "Oh, yes, I'm fine." She paid for the sweet potato, and slowly turned away, but after a few steps, she looked back. The young man stood by his cart, arranging his potatoes, honest, hard-working, kind. She could feel it. She made a decision. Right there. "I'll come back tomorrow. That night, Mrs. Thompson couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, staring out the window. The taste of that sweet potato kept coming back, and the young man's gentle smile floated before her eyes. But most of all, she thought about her daughter Sarah. Where are you now, baby? What are you doing? The night Sarah had left home replayed in her mind. You're doing this for me? You're never around, Mrs. Thompson had yelled back that day. Everything I do is for you. I don't want your money, Mom. I just wanted you. The door had slammed shut, and Sarah's back, disappearing down the hallway, was the last thing she'd seen. I'm sorry, Sarah. I'm so sorry, baby. Mrs. Thompson pressed her hand against the window, and let the tears fall. Now, she understood why that young man felt so familiar, why she thought of her daughter. I have to go to that cafe tomorrow. I have to. Her resolve was firm. After 15 years, maybe, just maybe, she could find her daughter again. After that day, Mrs. Thompson started coming to the neighborhood every few days. She never told anyone where she was going. She'd tell Tom, her driver, I'm going to the doctor, but she always ended up at that same bus stop. At first, I thought she was just another regular customer, maybe a bit particular. Why are you so late today? When she'd grumble like that, I'd bow slightly and smile. The potatoes came in late today, ma'am. I'm sorry about that. We started trading these rough little jokes between us. Then one day, Frank showed up again. I told you not to set up here. How many times do I have to say it? He kicked the side of my cart, the drum rattled, and I threw myself over it protectively. I'm sorry, sir, just until today. I promise, just today. My voice stayed low, but my knuckles were white from gripping the handle. Mrs. Thompson's face went hard. Watching this, she didn't say a word, but she paid me double. Before walking away as she left, I could see her fist clenching inside her coat pocket. A few days later, a man in an expensive suit approached my cart. Does Mrs. Thompson come here often? His tone was polite, but something felt off. Yes, sir, a customer comes by sometimes. I see. The man, whose name was Marcus, looked at my worn clothes and beat up cart. He smiled, but his eyes were calculating. That evening, Marcus met Mrs. Thompson for dinner at an upscale restaurant. You look tired lately, Aunt Eleanor. I worry someone might take advantage of you. His words were wrapped in concern, but underneath was a warning. There are a lot of people out there looking for money, you know. Mrs. Thompson set down her fork and looked at him directly. What are you trying to say, Marcus? Nothing, Aunt Eleanor, just that maybe it's time to let the younger generation handle the business. The business? When did I say I was stepping down? Marcus backpedaled quickly, but Mrs. Thompson had already tuned out. She was thinking about what I'd told her. My mom used to run a small business before it failed. She taught me how to roast sweet potatoes, actually, and the neighborhood name I'd mentioned, the cafe, she remembered it, was all starting to connect in her mind. Meanwhile, Marcus made a phone call. Frank, it's Marcus, that kid with the sweet potato cart. Make sure he can't set up there anymore. Don't worry, sir, I'll take care of it. That night, Mrs. Thompson stared out her window. Snow was falling quietly. Sarah, are you really there? Have I finally found you? A single tear rolled down her cheek. A few days later, Marcus sat in his office, staring at a report. It showed Mrs. Thompson's recent locations. Why would she keep going to that neighborhood? He grabbed his coat, and headed straight there. When he arrived at the bus stop, the smell of roasting sweet potatoes hit him. There was my cart. Marcus walked up, with a practiced smile. Excuse me, does an elderly woman come here often? I looked up, surprised. Yes, sir, sometimes she buys sweet potatoes. I see. Marcus studied my setup, my worn jacket, my tired face. His mind was already working. That evening, he tried again with Mrs. Thompson. Aunt Eleanor, you seem distracted lately. Is everything all right? I'm fine, Marcus. You know, with all your assets, I just want to make sure no one's trying to take advantage. Mrs. Thompson's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. Instead, she was thinking about what I'd shared with her mom. Used to make sweet potato desserts. People loved them. She had a little cafe in the old neighborhood. The pieces were falling into place. The neighborhood name matched the cafe name, sounded familiar, and the way I made sweet potatoes was exactly how she taught her daughter Sarah all those years ago. Could it really be? Mrs. Thompson's heart raced that night. She called her assistant. Find me a cafe in the downtown area, small place, makes sweet potato desserts. Yes, Mrs. Thompson, I'll get right on it. Within days, the answer came back. I found it, ma'am, Sarah's Sweet Potato Cafe. Mrs. Thompson's hand froze. Sarah, her daughter's name. Meanwhile, Marcus was plotting. He'd already paid Frank to make my life harder, and he wasn't going to stop until I was gone from that corner in his mind. Anyone who caught Mrs. Thompson's attention was a threat to his inheritance. I'll make sure that kid disappears, he muttered to himself, but he had no idea what he was really up against. The weather forecast warned of a major snowstorm, but I had no choice except to take my cart out. Mom's nursing home bill was due, and I desperately needed today's earnings. Frank had been waiting for this moment. He'd gotten a call from Marcus that morning. Today's the day, you know, enforcement comes out when it snows, right? Around 6 that evening, as the snow started falling hard, city enforcement vehicles pulled up at the bus stop. My heart sank. Whose cart is this? An officer held out paperwork. I'd already been fined multiple times for permit violations. My face went pale. Wait, please, just today, please, just today. My voice shook. Can't do it. Regulations say we confiscate. Immediately the officers started lifting my cart. No, please. I grabbed onto it, but I was no match for them. Sweet potatoes tumbled onto the snow. 1, 2, 3 they rolled across the white ground. The potatoes I'd carefully roasted all afternoon. My eyes stung with tears. People gathered around, but nobody stepped in. They just filmed on their phones, whispered to each other, shook their heads. Shouldn't be out here in this weather anyway. Rules are rules. Cold words floated through the air. My knees felt like they were giving out. Please, sir, just today. Then someone pushed through the crowd. Put it down, put that cart down, right now. It was Mrs. Thompson. She pulled off her hat, and walked straight toward the officers, one step at a time. Snow hit her face, but she didn't flinch. Ma'am, this is dangerous. Please step back. Do you know who owns this plaza? Her voice was low but fierce. I started selling sweet potatoes on this very ground 50 years ago. Her voice cut through the snowfall. People started murmuring, who is that lady? What's she talking about? Frank came running out. Mrs. Thompson, what are you doing here? The air froze. Mrs. Thompson? Everyone's eyes, including mine, locked onto her. This man is the property manager. Here she pointed at Frank. I've heard all about how he bullies people who can't fight back. Frank broke into a cold sweat. That's not what happened. The law says. The law? Her voice got sharper. Does the law exist to protect powerful people and crush the weak? Someone in the crowd gasped. She's right. Yeah, what did he do wrong? Voices started rising from the crowd. The officers backed away, reading the room. Frank's face turned red. He couldn't say a word. Mrs. Thompson grabbed the cart herself and set it back down. Who dares tell this young man he can't work? Who? Her voice rang out through the snow. I couldn't hold back my tears anymore. My head dropped, and my shoulders shook. She patted my shoulder. It's okay now. You're okay then, she quietly whispered in my ear. Tomorrow, can you go to this address? She handed me a slip of paper. I think your mother might have a connection there. I looked up at her. Her eyes were filled with tears too. That night, snow kept falling, but inside my chest, a strange warmth spread. Looking at the address she'd given me, childhood memories surfaced. That neighborhood, that alley, the small cafe where Mom used to work. Could it be? My heart pounded. The next morning, I held that slip of paper and headed out. It led to a quiet neighborhood on the edge of downtown. I took 2 buses and walked down narrow side streets. Old row houses mixed with small shops. At the end of the block, I saw a faded but clean sign. Sarah's Sweet Potato Cafe. Sarah, my mother's name. My heart raced. My hands shook so badly, I couldn't grab the door handle. I took a deep breath and pushed it open. Warm air rushed out, carrying a familiar smell. Sweet potatoes, but different from mine. Sweeter, softer somehow. I looked around the small cafe. Cozy, warm, inviting. Photos of sweet potato desserts lined the walls. Tarts, lattes, brownies. Someone was working in the kitchen, a middle-aged woman, with her hair pulled back, even from behind. I knew Mom. The word slipped out. She turned around. Her eyes went wide when she saw my face. Jake, it was her. My mom. After 15 years, I took a step forward, then stopped because, behind me, in the doorway, stood Mrs. Thompson. Silence fell. All 3 of us stood frozen. Mrs. Thompson spoke first. Sarah, that one word. Mom's face went hard. Mother. Her voice trembled. The air felt like it had stopped moving. I stood between them, speechless. Mrs. Thompson stepped inside slowly. It's been a long time. Why did you wait so long to come? Mom's voice carried years of resentment. 15 years, Mother. 15 years. I'm sorry. Mrs. Thompson's voice shook too. I'm so sorry, baby. Mom turned away. Her eyes were getting red. Mrs. Thompson picked up a sweet potato tart from the counter. She took a bite, then slowly nodded. Yes, this is my daughter's. Those words broke something in Mom. Tears streamed down her face. You taught me everything, Mom. Everything I know came from you. I know it did. Mrs. Thompson wiped her own tears. That's when I finally understood everything. This woman was my grandmother. Mom had left home 15 years ago and cut all contact, and the sweet potatoes I made came from a recipe passed down through 3 generations. You're my grandmother. My voice cracked. They both looked at me. Yes, Jake. Mrs. Thompson answered, I'm your grandmother. We sat at one table. Together Mrs. Thompson spoke, quietly. I worked too much, I didn't take care of my family, I understand now. Mom, running this cafe taught me that you have to work to survive, but losing you was my fault. Mrs. Thompson took Mom's hand. I'm sorry, Sarah, I'm so sorry. Mom cried, and nodded. That afternoon, Mrs. Thompson went back to the plaza. She called Frank and Marcus into the office. The tension in that room was thick. Frank, you're fired. Effective. Immediately her voice was firm. Mrs. Thompson, you can't just. I have evidence of every person you've harassed. Want me to keep talking? Frank shut his mouth. She turned to Marcus. And you, Marcus? Yes. And Eleanor? You're out to no more involvement with the company. Marcus's face went white. But I'm family. Family doesn't conspire to hurt innocent people. She pulled out phone records and tossed them on the table. I have proof. You called Frank proof. You tried to drive that boy away. Marcus couldn't say a word. Get out, both of you. Within days, Mrs. Thompson started renovating part of the plaza, a small space, but perfect. She was combining Mom's cafe with my sweet potato cart. Sarah and Jake's sweet potato house. The new sign went up on opening day. It snowed, but this time, it felt like a blessing. People lined up outside, grandmother, Mom, and me, three of us standing together, serving sweet potatoes, and smiling. Justice had been served. Family had been restored, and one simple sweet potato had made it all possible. A month passed. Sarah and Jake's sweet potato house became the neighborhood favorite. Mom's sweet potato desserts, combined with my roasted potatoes, won everyone's hearts. Grandmother would stop by sometimes to hand out free samples. My grandson made these with love. Every time she bragged like that, my face turned red. Mom stayed busy in the kitchen, developing new recipes. Jake, try this sweet potato creme brulee. Wow, Mom, this is incredible. Mom and I cooked together, just like the old days. I didn't have to worry about nursing home bills anymore. Grandmother had not only covered those costs, but moved Mom to a much better facility. Grandmother, this is too much. I can't accept all this. Of course you can. You're my grandson. She ruffled my hair. One snowy evening, we closed up shop. The three of us sat around a table. Mom's sweet potato tart and my roasted potatoes filled the space between us. Grandmother, why did you come to my cart that first time? I asked carefully. She thought for a moment. At first, it was just the smell brought back old memories, but when I tasted what you made, I thought of my daughter. Mom looked up. I learned everything from you, Mom, how to roast sweet potatoes, everything I know. I couldn't forget your touch. They looked at each other, no more resentment between them now. Mom, I'm sorry I said terrible things that day. No, baby, I should have been there for you more. They held hands watching them. My eyes got hot. Jake, this is because of you. Mom spoke. Because you worked so hard, we found each other again. That's right. Our grandson brought mother and daughter back together. Grandmother smiled too. I shook my head. No, it was the sweet potatoes that brought us together. All three of us laughed. Snow fell quietly outside the window, but it wasn't cold snow anymore. It was warm snow. The three of us, sharing sweet potatoes, looked like a perfect picture. News came from the plaza. Frank couldn't find work anywhere else. His history of harassment followed him everywhere. Marcus had left the city entirely, gone back to his hometown grandmother, hadn't pressed charges, but she'd made sure, they could never come back. People who hurt, the powerless, always pay the price. I nodded at her words. The world isn't always fair, but justice wins in the end. That weekend, a special customer visited Mrs. Kim, who sold the fish-shaped pastries. Jake, congratulations, I'm so happy for you. Thank you so much, Mrs. Kim. She greeted grandmother and mom too. This boy is good, always smiling, even in the coldest weather. Grandmother patted my shoulder with pride. He's my grandson. After all, that evening, I visited mom at the nursing home. Grandmother and my mother Sarah came with me. Hi, Mom, we're here to see you. My birth mother lay in bed, but her expression had brightened so much. Jake, I'm so sorry, honey. Don't be, Mom, you don't need to worry anymore. I held her hand. Grandmother stepped forward. Hello, I'm Jake's other grandmother, Eleanor. My birth mother looked surprised. Oh, hello. You did such a wonderful job raising this young man. Thank you. Tears rolled down my birth mother's face. Sarah greeted her too. Hi, I'm Jake's mom, Sarah. Yes, Jake talks about you all the time. The four of us talked together. It felt strange, having such a big family suddenly. As we left the nursing home that evening, I looked up at the sky. Snow was falling again, but I wasn't afraid of snow anymore. I had a warm family now. Jake, let's go home. Mom took my arm. Yes, Mom. Grandmother took my other arm. My grandson worked so hard today. The three of us walked home through the snow. From a distance, we looked like one person, a miracle created by one sweet potato, a warm family story blooming in winter snow. That's how our story found its happy ending. Sometimes miracles happen in this world, not grand, dramatic miracles, but small ones that start with simple kindness and a warm heart. That's what I learned. If you show someone a little warmth today, a small act of care, who knows, that tiny seed might grow into a great miracle someday.